You believe in vampires.
Yes.
Let's talk about vampires, because what the
There's been a TikTok.
Katie and Dana.
Est-ce que nous est? On va faire choix personnel là. On va pour choix qui va quitter là non. Faut choix qui va quitter. Faut choix qui va quitter non. Ça là.
I'm seeing all these videos about vampires popping up on my TikTok For You page. And I never ever thought I would tell this story, at least in a public forum. But here goes. This is my vampire story. It still baffles my mind when I think that, say that, and I still get the creeps with the memory of any of this. And I'm going to be a little bit cryptic, if you get my drift, with regards to some of the experiences. But several decades ago, I had lost my job. I had just had my baby girl. So she's going to be 30 this year. So that's how long it's been. And I had gotten a job interview at a local business. Again, I'm not going to say what kind of business. And I went to this interview and I immediately felt something odd with the owner of this business. There was something so mesmerizing about him. He wasn't good looking, but he was good looking. It's hard to explain. Like, there was just something strange about him, and he just felt almost hypnotic. And he said, I'm interviewing for a couple more people, and I'll give you a call in a couple days and let you know if you get the job. Okay. I did get the job. A couple days later, he gave me a phone call and he said, I am offering you this job at this pay. And it wasn't bad. The hours weren't bad. The pay wasn't bad. And I said, let me think about it. I had another offer on the table. And he said, please let me know by tomorrow. And I'm like, understood. So I had called my mom, and my mom was very intuitive, even though she didn't really want to admit that she was. And I told her, and I'm like, I got this job offer, and I didn't even tell her a lot of like the creepiness that this guy kind of gave me. And she's like, Christy, I have a really bad feeling. Do not accept this job. Do not accept the job. I'm telling you right now, something's not right. Do not accept this job. Now, this is a business that was in the person's family for a long time. And so it wasn't anything out of, it wasn't like a starter company. This person was kind of known in the community. My mom didn't know him, but so it was a substantial, real job. And I'm like, Mom, I don't understand. I need a job. She's like, you're going to get a job offer from that other place that you interviewed for. Just stick it out. Tell this guy no and accept the other job once it comes. And I'm like, this job was actually, it was pretty good. But I took my mom's advice and I called the gentleman the next day and I said, I'm so sorry. I am really honored, but I'm declining the job offer. And thank you very much for your time. And he's like, I will double your pay. Excuse me, sir? I will double your pay. Now, it already was good pay, but double the pay was a lot of pay. And I'm like, again, something felt really off. And I'm like, sir, I'm so sorry. I'm going to decline. And he's like, I'm going to check with you in a couple days. And there was just something very ominous about the way that he said that. And that night, I ended up having a dream with him in it. And it was very vampire-ish, is the only way that I can describe it. And the business that he was in also spoke volumes for that. So a couple days later, he called me and I said, again, sir, I've accepted another job, and I did not tell him with whom. And he's like, I will triple your salary. And I'm like, I'm sorry, sir. And he said, I can tell that you are very psychic, and I can tell that you know who I am and what I am. And I think it would behoove you to take this job. What? So I told him again, no, thank you. And he said, okay. Now this was like, internet wasn't really a thing. Like, you couldn't really look people up. There was AOL chat and such like that, but you couldn't really look people up like you can now. And so I ended up accepting a job at a cabinet store, and as an office manager. And I didn't hear from him, but I was still having these weird nightmares with him in it. And I'm like, it's just got to be in my head, right? But it was almost like he could read my mind. It was very strange. Well, guess who showed up at the kitchen store the second day that I started? Yeah, this guy. And it's like he knew that I was going to be there. He's like, hi, Christy. And I'm like, excuse me, what are you stalking me? Like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I'm ordering a new kitchen for the business. Like, it was nothing. And he continued to come in my dreams. About a year later, I ended up taking a job at a fireplace store as an office manager. A couple days into that, this gentleman walks in and says, I need a new fireplace for my business. Excuse me. Now, I'm not going to say everything about the business and everything about him, but you might be able to figure it out with a clue. And that is, he lived above the business. That's all I'm going to say. So he's like, yep, I need a fireplace. And I'm like, sir, I don't understand why you're here. And he continued every time. He's like, would you like to work with me? I'm like, nope, I'm good. I'm good. I worked at the fireplace store for a couple of years, and he would every once in a while call, and he would ask for the fireplace to be serviced. And I ended up telling my boss at the time, like, how I felt about him. And he would laugh, and he's like, I'm going to send you out there with the tech. And I'm like, no, you're not. But he was like, yeah, something strange about this person. Something is almost like immortal. Even if you look at the family lineage, it's like he's existed before, and it wasn't like his great-great-grandfather. It was like him. So I ended up quitting a couple of years after that, and I worked for a school district. And guess who showed up at the admin office? Him. And in the meantime, he's still coming in my dreams. And every once in a while, he's still calling me and asking me if I want a job. And no. My mom had passed away. I'd gotten a divorce. I mean, we are eons into this. And I ended up running into him at a store, and he, like, do you remember everybody you interviewed like one time? Because he either has a really crazy memory, or it wasn't like a stalker. He just wasn't. That wasn't the case. It's just, again, it was very vampiristic. Is that a word? And so I ran into him, and he's like, hi, Christy. And again, he's like, how are you doing? And it was just very kind of Norman Bates creepy. I ended up in the job that I'm in now. I'm a professional psychic medium. I ended up having to go to a competitor of his to work on a case. And we ended up talking about this gentleman and his business. And I didn't say anything, but the owner of this establishment went, just Christy, make sure you stay away from, because he's a vampire. And I didn't laugh, and she didn't laugh. And she knew I knew, and I knew she knew too. So vampires do exist, and they don't necessarily wear capes. Sometimes they wear business suits, and sometimes they invade your dreams. And I feel as if there's a possibility that my life at that time was a little bit crazy, and it was because of the psychic sort of like vampire energy that he was sending to me, because he was mad that I did not accept a job with him. I would love to tell you more, but I don't want to open up that can of bats.
Spoil me, spoil me, spoil me. Everything wants to spoil me. It comes times 11, so lucky like 7, receiving my blessings enjoyably. I'm open to it and I'm ready. My mind and my energy steady. Receiving the flood of the blessings that come in like water, the flow.
This is my vampire story part 2. If you haven't seen the first one, go back to it. It's a little long and I tried to shorten it, and I guess I'm not really good at doing that. So I apologize. I was off of socials for a couple days, and I came back to all these comments and questions, and you guys are so cute. I love all of you, even the ones that think that I'm weird, because honestly, I think I'm weird too. And this whole experience was really weird. It really was. I got a lot of private messages asking me if I could tell them who this person was or what the business was, and absolutely not. I think it kind of gives power to it, and I'm even tiptoeing in some energy that I probably shouldn't be in, doing this story, and even trying to be as vague as I can be. And only a handful of people know who this person is, and I've kept it. So, the other thing was, I got a lot of, oh my gosh, did you think he was going to kill you? And it's done in a very sarcastic, tone. And I don't know what his end game was. It would be something that only he could answer. But no, I never felt like he was trying to take my blood or take my life or anything like that. I do wonder if there was a psychic energy that we shared, maybe a past life, because as much as he wasn't like good looking, he was hypnotic, and he was just, I can't explain it. There was just something about him familiar. There was something about him that made me feel some kind of way, but not in a romantic way. And it was just, there was like a soul attachment maybe. So maybe he wanted some of the psychic energy. I've always been a psychic medium. I've always seen dead people. And I didn't at that time disclose it to like anybody, but my family knew. My spouse at the time knew. But I knew that he knew that I was, and he sensed that, and maybe he was as well, and he wanted to train me, I'm not sure. So I don't think that, he meant anything ill with the interaction. And obviously he was very persistent for several years to make it known that he was a presence around me. Has he come in my dreams, or has he tried to find me in real life recently? No, it's probably been about 10 years now. So it was about 20 years, 15 to 20 years of him popping up in my real life. So that's a lot. But it was never done in a stalker way. It just wasn't. I was asked if he aged. No. And the interesting thing is, I have seen photographs of his family. The business that he owns is family owned. And there's either a grandfather or a great grandfather that looks exactly like him. Almost as if they took his photograph and put it there. And yes, we can look very much like our relatives. I get that, but it's suspicious. And the other thing is I also had people in the same business that are very normal who kind of validated, you know, exactly what was going on with it. Vampires are misunderstood. Let's say that. I used to have a podcast way back when, before podcasts were a thing. It actually wasn't cool back when I had a podcast. And I had interviewed people who were in the vampire community, specifically in Columbus, Ohio. And they gave, you know, more information about what vampires were. And they're more of an energy than like take your blood. Now, there are some that's what they do, but there's more that learn how to use and abuse energy and to sort of suck that energy. So at the time I had just had a child, and maybe that was enticing to him because I had that child. And honestly, maybe there is something ill about that, and he knew I had just had a child. So again, I'm not sure what his end game was. What blood type am I? A positive. Yeah. And what were some of the other questions? I'm trying to remember. I have never used his business. I will never use his business. My close, you know, even my kids who are older now, you know, I have told them, don't use their business. Don't ever use their business for me. Just because of my interaction. Do I regret not taking that job? A little, maybe a little. My curiosity, you know, peaks every once in a while. My mom, who, like I said, was very intuitive. My mom was actually blind, but my mom was super intuitive. And when I tiptoed in the waters of possibly accepting the job because he had offered me a lot of money, she flat out told me she would never talk to me if I took that job. Now, the other thing is the job was administrative. I was going to be an accountant and do some other administrative work. And I'm probably giving hint to what this business is a little bit, but there was some notice that I might have to be there at night alone, in the dead of night, alone sometimes. So we, you know, I talked to my mom, I talked to my spouse at the time, and I had gotten another job offer that was not as great, but felt safer. Until he showed up to buy kitchen cabinets. So there was that. What other crazy? There was other crazy. Again, everyone was like, well, why couldn't you protect yourself? I was a baby. I was all of like 25 years old, 20. Yeah, I was about 25 years old. And I didn't know how to protect my energy. I didn't know how to protect myself even in sleep. I didn't know how to do that. So now I do. And maybe that is why I haven't had interactions with him or any dreams with him. So there was that. But that is my story. And that's a true story. It's a crazy story. I believe in you guys. Take care. If you haven't heard my vampire story, I have a part 1 and a part 2. Otherwise, this will not make any sense. But I wanted to talk just briefly about a couple of the dreams that I had reoccurring for many, many, many years with regards to this individual. The first one is a little bit what it might be considered like a remote viewing. Whether I was remote viewing or he was remote viewing, I'm not sure. But I would fall asleep for real, and in my dream I could see him watching me sleep. So it was like he was in my room, but he wasn't in my room, but I could see him in my room watching me. And it wasn't really disturbing, like stalkerish, but it was concerning. And this happened for years and years and years and years until I figured out how to do some blocking and what we refer to as cord cutting. And then that helped it. The other dream that happened just about every night for years was him taking my hand and telling me that he needed my help with something. And we were like in an underground area that was dirty and dusty. And it was like looking for the door, the right door to open so that he could show me something that was going to help me with my life. And so if it hadn't been that I knew him like in a subconscious way, that might have been a bit interpreted that my life was a little bit chaos and I was searching. So was it him in the dreams, or was it me manifesting it? I mean, I'll never really know. It felt like it was him, though, until I did like this cleansing and this unattachment. And there were other dreams, but those were the two that were the most prevalent. I had moved several times, and I still would have the dream of him watching me sleep in the dream. So it was always concerning. I've had a lot of people say, if I guess who he is, or if I guess what industry he's in, will you verify? And absolutely not. Like I said, I feel like I'm playing with things that I probably shouldn't hear. But it's also interesting how many people have reached out to me and said that they have had similar experiences and that they thought that they were crazy. And that's kind of why I'm sharing this, because yeah, you can think I'm weird, and yeah, you can think I'm crazy, and yeah, I can't necessarily validate that he was a vampire, except several people in his industry have validated it for me. So, but yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, and it's a true one. So, hope you guys are doing great. I believe in you.
I have been waiting for so long to like for Hollywood to just be burnt down. Like, I hate Hollywood with a passion. I don't care. Like, I can openly admit it, because you can look up my cousin. Her name is Nancy Cooney. She committed suicide, and I will eventually get to her story and like what she went through and the experiences that she went through with some of the celebrities and how they blackmail you to take nude pictures and do all of the stuff to be on their website or their Instagram page or like whatever so they can advertise you. They are so shady, and they do witchcraft and all of that stuff, and I'm just tired of people gatekeeping that industry, knowing that it's so messed up in so many levels. So yeah, like, I'm just ready to just blow that whole lid off. It's connected to. So I do want to say thank you for everybody who's been commenting and showing support. It's not easy to talk about this kind of stuff. Again, like, the only reason why I'm talking about it because I see everybody exposing Hollywood secrets and how like these celebrities are doing this and doing that, and nobody is talking about the real truth. And the truth is that there's draconians and reptilians at the lowest level. Now, like I said, I started to see people's faces deform, like into alien shapes. Like, I start to see people's true like forms. Like I don't know. And I started to realize that when I was walking, there was this one guy, and I saw his face, and his face started to like, the only way that I could think of is like, kind of had like pointy elf ears, and his face would go back, and it was like kind of like wide. And he started to realize that I was seeing his true form, and he started smiling, and it was like very demonic. And then another demon, who was like kind of further down, was in a smoke shop, and he saw me, and he knew that I knew, and I guess the other demon was like trying to come towards me and my friend, and he told us to go in his shop, and he was like, oh, I got some free stuff for you, because like Amber was like, oh, like I like to smoke. And like at this point, like, damn, so Amber likes to smoke, so she went in there to get a free pipe, whatever. And like, it's weird because in my mind, I never thought demons are supposed to protect you, but like, this is where a lot of stuff get contradicting, and it confuses me because I didn't expect demons to be protective of chosen ones or people who are the bearer of light, which is a whole nother story that I'll get into. But he basically intercepted that demon trying to do whatever he was trying to do. But I saw both of their true forms, except for this one wasn't trying to harm me and the other one was. And that other one was a vampire, straight up vampire.
I need to be able to see you, right? So he laughing, and I walk to the other side of the stage. I come back. He lifted up his glasses, and everything was black.
Oh, he didn't have any eyes?
Did you hear what I said?
What?
He lifted up his glasses, and everything was black. The energy I got from him was, do you want to comment? I look back at him, and the energy I gave him was, I'm going to mind my business.
How many of you have heard of the black-eyed children? I'm talking about these right here. There have been stories. People could say that they're out in the middle of nowhere or at their homes, and the next thing they know, they get a knock on the door, or they get approached by a child. But the thing with the child, they have a real dark energy around them. Extremely demonic, satanic. They look at them, they have dark eyes. They always want to come in, or for you to invite them in. Now, I personally have not experienced this. I've seen some stuff, some supernatural stuff, be it of the Lord Jesus or the enemy, but I haven't seen this personally. I can't write off people's experiences. This is not godly. What Monique just talked about reminded me of this. Now, if they are real, which I don't have any reason to believe that they're not, especially with the history of the Bible, how fallen angels mated with human women in Genesis 6 got forms of hybrids, and Jesus says it'll repeat in the last days. These could either be that or a lab experiment. Satanic. Tell me your thoughts in the comments, and follow if you like content like this. Final 3 days of this month, I'm doing a detailed class on Bible prophecy, the identity of the Antichrist, and more. To join, click the link in my bio and in my story. See you guys there.